My name is Melanie Eberts here at ArtAndes6, Peruvian textile business. We're here at the Northrop King Building in Northeast Minneapolis, the Arts District of Minneapolis. I started ArtAndes in 1985. I was traveling in Peru, and I had done a lot of traveling in India, Nepal, China, Thailand before that. And when I got to Peru, kind of the focus was hiking the Andes, Inca Trail up in the Cordillera Blanca, doing some pretty extensive trekking. But I had also developed some interest in indigenous culture from my past travels in Asia. When I got to Peru and hooked up with a weaving town that I eventually was kind of directed to, San Pedro de Cajas, in the central Andes, that's how I started my business.
A business of bringing the stories, the culture, and the breathtaking beauty of Peru to the homes and galleries of the Twin Cities. When beautiful hand-spun wool in the hands of talented artists finds its way through the loom, something amazing happens.
You know, there is so much spirit wove into these rugs. Just watching them being wove in itself as their hands dance across the loom. And I really connect with the Quechua culture, and especially the culture in Ayacucho. Ayacucho is the weaving capital of Peru, and I'd have to say probably of all of South America. And the tradition, the culture, it just imbibes all of that, the weaving itself.
Along with the spirit, culture, and design of these amazing pieces is the fact that they will last literally for generations.
This is a dense, tight weave. It's a weave that lasts a lifetime. But so much of the kind of perceived value of people who don't know a lot about weaving would be thickness. Pile. This is a non-pile rug. So the first thing that some people are going to do is come in and feel it and go, wow, it's thin. Well, it's not the thickness of a rug that's going to make it an heirloom rug, which is what these are, which is what your investment is all about. It's the tightness. And you can't even count the amount of yarn per square inch because these aren't knotted. It's not a knotted rug. So you have to bring people along in that sense. And the closest I can get to doing that for people is comparing it to a Navajo rug. We know that Navajo rugs are around 100 years later, and there are many people that invest in Navajo rugs, and they're very expensive. Well, the quality of these rugs is finer than most Navajo rugs that I have seen.
Now, if weaving is a story, then the talented hands of the weaver tells the story, line by line. And in this case, the storyteller is Wilbur Quispe, whose gift of weaving was almost lost. On one trip to Peru, Melanie met Wilbur just as he was about to give up weaving forever to take a laborer's job to support his family. Melanie brought his work to Minnesota, and Wilbur continued his work at the handmade loom. And all of this beauty here today is a result of that partnership.
That is what I mean by keeping a craft alive. That day changed his life, and it changed mine too, because it gives the heart and the soul of my business. He's the face of the Peruvian culture for me.
And when Wilbur visits the Twin Cities, many people get to see his work firsthand outside of ArtAndes studio.
So we're here at the Mill City Farmers Market in Minneapolis this morning. We bring this handmade loom to the market every Saturday morning. This loom is actually built in Peru by Wilbur Quispe. It's a mahogany hand-built floor loom, tapestry loom. You can see just the artistry in that. Wilbur Quispe is here from Peru for 2 months. This is a very complex and unique style of weaving, tapestry weave. And we need to show what goes into these pieces in order for people to really understand the durability. Around the world, things have gotten a little more commercialized. So in Peru, you're going to find a lot of weaving, and they're very skilled weavers there. But a lot of them will use a machine-processed wool, just because it's faster. All hand-spun sheep wool is what is the canvas for these rugs. The design that Wilbur's working on right now, it's all freehand. He does not have a pattern other than what is in his head, and he's got about 30 designs like this memorized. This is called the matrimonio design. One body, two heads interlocked together. The interlock pattern goes way back to pre-Incan cultures in weaving, yet he's brought in his own flavor, kind of whimsical with the butterflies and the flowers. So this is really what I like to highlight while he's here.
Back in the studio, Melanie takes us on a quick tour of many of the amazing designs you'll see there.
What I'm going to point out are just some differences of the designs and where they might come from. You'll see on the wall that very dimensional piece. That would be a very traditional Peruvian piece, but that is a signature piece of Wilbur Quispe's as well. On the floor here, this big rug, very simple collection of colors. I call this cosecha, which means harvest. And literally, I looked out the window of a small airplane going through the Andes, and it's patchwork fields, looks like a quilt draped over the hillside. That's where this design cosecha comes from, and we may do it in different colors, but that is just a great collection of natural dye colors. As we move into some of the wall pieces that you see, this is Maximo Lara. He's also from Ayacucho, Peru, an indigenous man who is just a model, role model for many weavers that I work with today, very successful. There's a couple designs here that I love. Of course, the traditional matrimonio design, which you've seen before, lovely. Can hardly have enough of those around. The diamonds, the rumbo, this was developed out of a way to use up all the extra colors of yarn, kind of having a surplus of. So this was a way to just keep all the extra colors going.
And one way to keep the small villages of Ayacucho, Peru going is through Comunidad, a nonprofit organization created to help the indigenous people of Peru with their most basic needs. 5% of the profits from ArtAndes is contributed to this cause.
Come to Northrop King, come to our studio, come to the Mill City Farmers Market and experience Peru. It's really what happens when you walk into this studio. You are experiencing a bit of the magic of Peru.